Hello, it is March, and for Bake Once a Week, it is Classic Cookie Month, which means we are making chocolate chip cookies, oatmeal raisin cookies, lemon cookies, and sugar cookies this month. And first up is my tried and true, something I've perfected over the years, my perfect chocolate chip cookies. They are so good. There are a couple of tools that you're going to need. First is a cookie sheet and parchment paper. You're also going to need a number 24 scoop, ice cream scoop. You'll need a balloon whisk and a teaspoon. Let's get started. So we have in our bowl 1 3/4 cup unbleached flour, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 tablespoon of ground vanilla beans. In a separate bowl, we are using 2 different sugars. We have a half a cup of granulated sugar and 3/4 cups of packed brown sugar. We also are going to be using 1 egg and 1 egg yolk, some vanilla extract, some milk chocolate chips, which is really critical. All right, but first we're starting with the butter. We have 4 tablespoons of butter that we're going to set to the side. Then we're starting in our pan with 10 tablespoons of butter. These are both unsalted butter. And we're going to brown this butter. I'm going to speed this up because it takes a little while to brown butter. But what we're looking for is for the butter to melt first. Then you're going to see some milk foams form. You'll see that on the top. And then slowly it's going to brown. You're going to turn it around. And rather than stirring it, you mostly want to shake the pan. And we're really looking for a nutty aroma. Once we get to that point, we're going to add that hot butter, browned butter, to the 4 tablespoons of butter we set aside. And we're going to spend some time mixing this to really bring down the temperature of the butter so that we can start using it right away. And you'll note the color of the browned butter. It's brown. Why do we do this? So browned butter brings out the nutty flavors that exist in the fat that's in butter. And so when you brown it, you just enrich the flavor. It becomes deeper. I can't tell you, but this is like number 1, the thing that makes my perfect chocolate chip cookies as wonderful as they possibly are. So I'm going to spend some time just mixing here, and you can see again the color, the beautiful amber color that we have there. It's just divine and delicious. I use it in other baked goods. I even have a brown butter cake that I make, and I use it in other things. But in the context of chocolate chip cookies, this is where the foundational flavor profile begins, is with this browned butter. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get that stirred all the way together, and then we'll move on to the next step once that's done. And here we are with most of the butter melted all the way in. I'm going to give it a couple more turns just to make sure that it's completely done. So now what comes next? We are going to add this wonderful butter along with a little bit of salt, 1 teaspoon of salt, directly into the sugars. And we're going to go ahead and get those mixed in. I think I missed this on the video, but I also added vanilla in at this stage as well. So we've got the vanilla, the 2 sugars, this browned butter concoction, and some salt. And I'm going to take that large balloon whisk and just whisk it until it is completely incorporated. We just want it to be all pulled together. Next, we're going to add both the egg yolk and the egg, and we're going to pop that right into here. Now, we're going to mix it together for 30 seconds. We're going to wait for 3 minutes. And then we're going to come back and do that 2 more times. And again, this is a great recipe because you do not even need a mixer. It's all by hand and it tastes amazing. So this is our first incorporation of the eggs. And we want to give the mixture time to really come together and get fully saturated. And so that's why we're waiting the 3 minutes in between the different times that we are whisking for the 30 seconds. So we'll be back in 3 minutes and you'll see the change. Okay, so you see it's getting thicker and shinier. This is my second time stirring for 30 seconds. So I'm gonna whisk again for 30 more seconds. So we're gonna do another 3-minute wait and come back one last time. And as you can see, in between these cuts, there's nothing that's happening. I'm doing this 30 seconds of whisking and then just letting it sit for 3 minutes. And you see what a change happens just in letting the batter and the dough itself just come together on its own. And here we are, the final stage. Look at how thick, look how shiny, look how beautiful it is. I mean, this is like the holy grail of bases for chocolate chip cookies. Honestly, you could just eat this. It tastes so good. But you shouldn't because there's raw eggs in it. So here I am doing my last 30 seconds, and the rest of this recipe, actually, you're done with your whisk. I'm gonna, once this is finished, come back with a spatula, a silicone spatula, and here you can see the beautiful color that we've achieved with the brown butter and the brown sugar and everything. So next up, we're gonna bring back in that bowl that we had, the baking soda and the flour and the vanilla beans. I'm just gonna mix that all together so it's all incorporated before we add it into the dough that we have started. So we're gonna pull that over, and it literally all gets put in at one time. There's no stages to do, and we're gonna switch from the whisk and we're going to go to a spatula. So we're gonna use a large spatula. So first I'm gonna empty all of this in there, get it into the bowl. There we go. And I'm gonna just use a whisk just to make sure we get everything. We're just go around the sides. I wanna make this really easy to do. So I'm gonna bring in my big spatula now, and I'm gonna fold it just like this. I'm gonna continue folding until it's all mixed in and we are completely in full cookie dough stage. Then I'm gonna add the chocolate chips and do the same thing. And finally, I'm gonna use the scoop, and this is so we have uniform cookies. It's also another critical piece to the bake, is making sure that all the cookies are the same size so that none get cooked more or less than any others. So I'm just gonna fill that, and we're gonna bake it in the oven at 375 for about 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes, flipping halfway through. So I did this for 5 minutes, then flipped the pan, and then another 5 minutes. I have a second sheet ready to go, but I do have additional dough left over. And what I usually do is I just put that in a Tupperware. I put it in the fridge. I will admit that my husband likes to just eat it with a spoon, but I also just have it so I can make more cookies later on. So now I'm gonna pull the first set of cookies out, and I wanna just point out that what we're looking for is browning on the edge, but that the middle is not browned. That's really critical to the cookie texture that we want. We're gonna let this cool for 5 minutes and then pull it off the rack. Here's my handy cookie spatula. I'm just gonna pull all of these off of the rack, and this is all happening while the second batch is already in the oven, doing its first 5 minutes in the oven. And you see how quickly this recipe came together. I mean, I have friends that just comment are like, can you make chocolate chip cookies? It comes together super fast. I think it was 45 minutes total from start to finish. And there we are, perfect chocolate chip cookies. Enjoy.